Okay, I wanted to do an example of the alternative elasticity formula problem. So here it is. Write it down and work along with me. All right, so I've written the demand function that they gave us. So x is the number of video games demanded when our price is p. So this is a function in terms of p. That's our variable. All right, so part 1 asks us to determine the quantity demanded when p equals 5. So I'm going to say, I'm going to call this f of p, this function here, because it's a function in terms of p. I'll just rewrite it here just to be extra thorough. And now I'm going to plug in 5 for p. So now instead of f of p, I'll call it f of 5. And I'm just plugging in 5. And really at this point, you're just plugging this into your calculator and beep bop booping it. Beep bop boop, and I get approximately 14.87. All right, so that's the number of video games demanded when the price is $5. Let's plug it in. All right, so we've got 14.87. They want us to round our answer to the nearest whole number, so we'll call it 15 video games. All right, the next part is the fun part. They want us to determine the formula for the elasticity of demand E, and remember this is a different formula because it's based on P instead of X. So let's look at that. All right, so this is the other, here's the alternate part, the alternative elasticity of demand formula. E in terms of P is opposite P times F prime of P is on top now, and F of P is on the bottom. We just need to find f prime of p and then plug it in here. So first step, f prime of p. It's not simple because we've got all these negative signs, but basically we want to find the derivative of this. So it's going to be 32 times the derivative of this. And the derivative of that is the derivative of 1 minus the derivative of that. So really, it is just minus the derivative of this guy, which is, again, e to the negative p over 8 times the derivative of negative p over 8, which is negative 1/8. All right, so we get negative 1/8 times 32 is 4. Well, negative 4 times that negative is positive 4. So we really just have 4 times e to the negative p over 8. So that is our f prime of p. All right, feel free to take more steps on that. I've done it a million times now, so I'm pretty good at it. All right, so E of P then is equal to, and then I'll go down here. So opposite P, which is our variable, so it's fine. And then F prime of P, which is this guy, 4e to the negative P over 8, over F of P, which is 32 times 1 minus e to the negative p over 8. So I can cancel out a 4 here. And I guess we're going to keep that negative. Negative p e to the negative p over 8 over 8 times 1 minus e to the negative p over 8. Okay, let's plug it in and keep our fingers crossed. All right, so we'll start with the negative. P e to the negative p over 8. Feel the tension. 8 times the quantity, 1 minus e to the negative p over 8. And this one's so convoluted that it doesn't all fit in the box, but I think I typed it in right. Okay, good. So the next step is to find that elasticity function at p equals 5. So remember we found e of p, so now we're going to find e of 5 and then interpret what that means. So really we're just plugging 5 into this e of p that we just found. So everywhere I saw p, I plugged in a 5, and this is a beep bop boop on your calculator again, so beep bop boop, and I get negative 0.7198. So let's see what our interpretation is of this. So remember, it's our elasticity function. So remember, we our choices are elasticity greater than 1, less than 1, or equal to 1. So clearly this is less than 1. So let's see what our choices are. And just like in our normal elasticity function, where it's in terms of units produced, the same thing is true. So we have an elasticity of 0.720, negative 7.720, and so that is less than 1, so it's either this guy or this guy. And just like in the old function, when elasticity is less than 1, the demand is inelastic, so that's our choice. Okay, and the final step is to figure out what revenue is generated at P equals $5. Let's go back to the work. All right, so the revenue is just X, the number of units you sell, times P, the price that you sell them for, just like always. All right, so, and in this case, remember our X was our f of P, right? Our original function way back here, this guy, okay? And then just times P, and P again is 5. But way back here in part 1, we found f of 5. So that is our X at P equals 5. So this 14.87 that we rounded off in part 1 to 15 video games, we need this rounded out to, or out to a bunch of places not rounded off, because they want us to give our revenue in cents. So our f of P, our f of 5, this guy right here, is that 14. So P is 5, and f of P is that 14.87. I'm just going to leave it out to many, many decimal places so I have lots of precision. And then that equals, in cents, beep bop boop on my calculator, I get $74.36. All right, it's the last step. Let's hope we get it right. 74.36. Good job. Good job. All right, that should help you, hopefully, with yours.